Okay, we're up to Daf Mem Ches. Today's Daf is Mem Ches. Just the Chazar Ibra, the segue into the sugya. We saw that Rav Nachman quoted Rav Huna, who said that if Kulan, all the people in the Mishnah, right, the Umnin, the Harisin, the Shutfin that don't have a Chazaka, if they bring a raya, and this is Meduyak, the Rashbam said the raya they brought was dafka bishtar, or with Eidei Hoida, that the Ma'ara was moida, that the field was there, it would be chazaka. However, a Gazlan is not good chazaka. If the Gazlan has a Eidei Hoida or a shtar, why is it not a good chazaka? It's because now Rav Chakana's din that people are scared of Gazlan, and because they would go ahead and impart information over to the government and get the guy into trouble and get him arrested, so therefore they stayed away from them. With Meduik and Rashbam, since Rav Huna said this din, it has to be speaking that it could not be that there was any money transferred. If there was money transferred, Rav Huna would be moida that the Gazlan would have a chazaka, because Rav Huna is of the opinion of taluya v'zavin zvina. If someone is forced to do something, is forced to make a sale, then the sale is a good sale. The Mela, if the Gazlan would go ahead and give money to the person that he took the land from, he coerced the person into that, it would be believed. And therefore what? Dafka, either shtar, mechiro, or eda hida. That was what we said. Rabbi said in the name of Rav Nachman himself, that what? Even if the Gazlan had given money for the field, he gets it back, because Taluya is Zvini, Ein Zvini. So that was the Machlokes, and it's funny because we're seeing it today. We inferred it from the psak of yesterday's Gemara, but in fact, we're first going to see it today. Says the Gemara on Mem Zayin Amid Beis at the bottom. 4 lines up. Rav Huna, Talyuhu v'zavin, Savina Savini. If someone goes ahead and forces a person to go ahead and make a sale, the sale is a sale. So Rashbam brings lav dafku talyua, but any type of forcing that a person would force it, any type of yisurim that it would inflict on a person, it would be a good sale. That's the din of Rav Huna. The Gemara wants to know my time, but why should it help? It says, going to call them mazvin inish, anything that a person sells, he loved the honest, if not that he was forced, like havi mazvin, he wouldn't have sold it. The Rashbam says like this, even metalton, usually I said it by karka, but even metalton, if persons have possession, they're going to keep them. They want them. They need them. Those days, there was no extravagance. Everything was a necessity. So if a person is going to sell anything, not only karka, but even metalton, right? In a way, he's kind of forced to sell it because he doesn't want to sell it. Nonetheless, the sale goes through. It's a good sale. He's going merumakna because he has to do it. So too over here, he's forced, albeit by somebody else, by extenuating circumstances, as opposed to day-to-day living. Right, he's extending to the extent that it's someone who's going to go ahead and psychologically apply reasons to go ahead and sell. I mean, Lashanaki of hanging the guy, putting spikes in his feet, right? Then who are then in that case the Zvina is going to be a Zvina. He says the Gemara, I can make a big distinction. Vidolma shiny einsa denafshe me einsa dachrina. Self-imposed onus when you need the money. So there it makes sense that you're going to go in with makna. Hashem came where it's done already. Somebody else is suspending you from a tree. Somebody else is inflicting pain upon you, bringing surim upon you. Maybe in that case, what? It's not a good sale. So this is not a good svara to explain the shita of Rav Huna. It's not a good svara to explain the shita of Rav Huna. Ella, another attempt to explain the shita of Huna, Kidetanya or Midetanya on Amid Aleph Mem Ches. Aleph. And this is speaking about karbanis. The pasuk is speaking about nidarim unadava. It's speaking about a carbon that's brought al yedei nedo unadava, where a person says harei alai or harei zu, and you can either bring in those cases an oila or a shlamim. In this case, the pasuk is describing an ola. Im ola karbano min abaka. If he decides to bring from the rinda, from the cattle, right? Zacha tamim, a male that is without a mum, yakrivenu el pesach el mayed. Yakir Vaisoy Lurtson of Hashem. Now the word Yakir Vaisoy is extra because once you said Yakrivenu, you could just say go Pesach al Moed Lurtson of Hashem. The words Yakir Vaisoy what is extra. Yakir Vaisoy says the Gemara. Yakir Vaisoy. Those words are totally extraneous. Malamit Shekofano. So we go ahead and we force him to go ahead and bring his carbon. We force him to bring the carbon. Talmud Lomar. So Yachol Balkarchoy. I might think we force him against his will. Talmud Lomar L'Ritzono. We say according to his Ratzon. Okay, so Koifna Sayat Shiom Rotzani. We go ahead and we force the person who's going to bring the carbon neder or nedava to bring it until he says he doesn't want to bring it. We force him until he says bring it. So what do you see? A forced bringing of the carbon works. So hu adin taluy of his oven, a forced sale of a sale is zvina. It's a good sale. So l'chayra Rav Huna has a very good source in the Torah, Vayikra, the third pasuk in Vayikra, that tells us that kfiyah helps al yedei a carbon, and it's considered l'rtsoinoi. It's not only that he's forced to bring it; he's bringing it willingly. He's willingly bringing it over here. So malay mishakofan so lahakav mashanadan. Achi yomerotz, and he says Rashbam Alma heichid the koifin oisoi ad oimer. Ad Omar mitoch yisurim roitzani until he says mitoch yisurim I want. Karina Beiler Sinai. Then it's called Sinai. As long as he comes up and says roitzani, it seems to be machloikis between the Rashbam and the Rambam. The Rashbam clearly says the necessity to say roitzani to create the what, the Gemara Makna, to create the in this case the complete rotzen to bring the carbon. In the case of sale, he has this roitzani, I want to sell it to you. That seems to be a necessity, part and parcel of the Gemara Makna. The Rambam disagrees by roitzani, but over here he does agree by carbon. The Gemara Maliboy lahakar. Who adin lisvina? Who adin inyan lisvina? Imama roitzani. If he says roitzani again, the Rashbam repeats it. He says roitzani. Habizvini. The Gemara Maliboy lahaknois because he's Gemara Maliboy lahaknois. Okay, so l'chayr we have a good right to Rav Huna's then. Says Gemara, maybe you don't have a good raya. The Dil Meshani Hasam, perhaps it's different over there. Dil Meshani Hasam, perhaps it's different over there. What by Karbonis? The Nichale de the Havile Kapara. In other words, there is something to be gained over there. You're forcing the person to go ahead and do something that ultimately he's going to have to do. In other words, by field, you don't have to sell the field. By carbon, ultimately you're going to have to bring the carbon. Why? Because of kapara. Taisvis goes into what exactly the kapara is, okay, but it's not so plush about the kapara is. But ultimately, whatever there is. There is a kapara, an aspect of kapara by a carbon oila. There's an aspect, even mitzvah say, or stamazoi, it's there when you need a real kapara, but whatever Taisus describes it. But the bottom line is you have something to gain. So perhaps when you're just playing hard to get, in other words, I know I have to bring a carbon. I said neder. I said nedava. I have to bring it. If it's a neder, I have to bring it, and I'm chaybach raya, so I don't bring it. If it's a nedava, I have to bring this particular animal. But the bottom line is, I have to do it. So maybe perhaps over there, when you force a guy to do something that ultimately he's going to have to do, therefore it works. Mashen came by a zvina, where a guy doesn't have to go ahead and sell this field. How do you know it's going to work? So therefore, this is not a good raya to Rav Huna. Carbon's not a good right to Rav Huna. So we failed from the raya from the Taltalin, saying that what a person doesn't want to sell something, and nonetheless it's a good sale. We said that's when he's forced to sell by himself. But when other people force him, maybe not. We want to bring a raya from carbon. We said we can't bring a raya from carbon because carbon perhaps he has to bring it because he's kapara. So there's another reason why he has to bring it. Mashenkin bechira, he doesn't have to sell it. Perhaps there about the tuluy of his oven ain't zvina. So Rav Papa does not. Rav Huna does not have a raya. A third attempt. Okay, a third attempt. You say by a get. A person doesn't want to give a get, right? There's certain cases where a person has to give a get. A person doesn't want to give a get. Mishnah Ksubas. Kaifin I say, you force him until he says, I want to give a get. So therefore, you see that what? That kfiyah helps. So just like it helps by get, so too adin it helps by sales. Says more of Mishani Hasam, the mitzvah l'shmaya divrei chachamim. That's why it's a mitzvah to listen to the words of the chachamim. So in other words, just like by oila there was a reason for kapara, also over here by get there is another aspect why you would say the kfiyah does help because there's a mitzvah to listen to the words of the Chachamim who said to go ahead and divorce in this particular case. He's a mukach shchen or he's epileptic. There are different reasons that they give over there. He has bad breath, whatever. So that you're going to go ahead and give a divorce. So we don't have a source, says the Rashbam. Dilma Hasam Nami by get ki oimer roitzani gamar belibo legarsha. He completes in his heart to divorce. The mitzvah ka'avid, he's doing a mitzvah. Since the Rabbanan Ochiv the Haitzi, therefore he's doing a mitzvah. And Memela, since he's doing a mitzvah, his kafiyah does help. Okay, this last piece has been brought in other places. I thought it's important to bring because, you know, we use the Lashon famous, it's a famous, and then you'll say, well, if it's famous, how come I don't know it? Well, this one I brought in many, many times, and it is really famous. This is the Rambam in Perek Beis Halacha Chaf from Hilchos Gerushin. This is the Rambam, Perek Beis Halacha Chaf from Hilchos Gerushin. How can you go ahead and force somebody at Shema Roitzani? L'chorah, it seems to be counterintuitive. If you're forcing him, he doesn't want. So how could it be that Misha din noisin shekayf noisei legarish asishtay leirotz legarish? Somebody who the din is that he should divorce his wife and he doesn't want to. Bezin shel Yisrael, a bezin of Yisrael be meduyik. We'll see in the Gemara a bezin of Yisrael b'chol makom b'chol zman. Makin oisai, you can hit him at shiyeh meroitzani until what he says, okay, I want. V'yichdav a get, who get kosher. And then you write the get, and it's a totally kosher get. It's considered with his will. Even if goyim hit him, do what the Jews tell you to do. Do what the Yisrael says. That what you should go ahead and force the guy into force. And in other words, the goyim are doing it not for their das; they're doing it what for the Yisrael's das. However, if the goyim themselves do it, get puzzle. They get puzzle, as we'll see in the Gemara in a second. But Lamalei bottle gets there. Frank the Rambam, why isn't this get not bottle? Shehu honest. Bein biad goyim, bein biad Yisrael. Right? He's being forced, and a get has to be given. He has to be given over willingly. But Lamalei bottle gets there. Shehu honest. Bein goyim and bein biad Yisrael. Someone who's forced to do something. That is not mat. There's a din of kfiyah by mitzvahs. But over here, where's the kfiyah? Over there, you're going ahead and you're forcing a person to sell something or give something. Someone who is the Yetzer Hara is being toikif and forced from Vatal Mitzvah to do an Aveira, but huka acha asa dava shechayv lasosai, and you hit him until he does something he's mechuyev to do, or he distances himself from something that he shouldn't be doing. Ein ze honest mimenu elohu honest atzmai b'daita hara. It's a very fantastic Rambam, psychological Rambam. The Rambam says if it's tuli of his oven for mechira. So that's not really, you're not forced to sell something. You don't have to sell something. We'll see why we pass like Rafuna, but you're not forced to sell something. So when you say roitzani, I want, you don't really want. You don't really want, you're just being pained. Masha'en came by Gerishin. You really want to give the get. Why? Because you want to keep the Torah mitzvahs. That you're not keeping the Torah mitzvahs is what? Is because the Yetzer Hara is toikif. Shetakfu Yetzer Hara levatla mitzvah. Memela, what does the kfiyah do? It goes ahead and takes away the Yetzer Hara and keeps you on the fine Jew that you really are. In other words, you're really a fine fellow. You're a Jew. You're a maimin. You're a maimin in mitzvahs. You don't want to do the mitzvah. It's the Yetzer Hara telling you not to do the mitzvah. It's the Yetzer Hara stopping you. So what's the kfiyah do? The kfiyah goes ahead, takes away the Yetzer Hara, and keeps you on the plateau of a Jew. The fikach zeh she'eina roitzel lagarish. Mi'achashu roitzel liyas miYisrael. A guy who doesn't want to divorce his wife after he wants to be part of Yisrael, roitzel lasses calling mitzvahs. He wants to do all the mitzvahs. Well, this rakas min aveiros, and he wants to distance himself from the aveiros. The Yitzra who shetakvay, and it's all the Yetzer Hara that's going ahead and strengthening and telling him not to. The kima shehuku at shetoshes Yitzra, and since you hit him until you weaken his Yitzra, v'meroitzani Gorish Lit Sinai, that's considered Gerishin Lit Sinai. A very, very, very well done. Rambam go to the psychology of a Jew. So therefore, it says the Argemara, how can you tzushtel? How can you tzushtel Tulia Vizav and Zvina Rav Huna Shita and expect to learn it out from Mat from Gerushin? Gerushin Mishul Lishmoy Divrei Chachamim. It's a mitzvah to divorce. The Chachamim told you in this scenario you have to divorce. So if you have to divorce, we can force you to divorce. Where's the Ritzayna over there? You always want to do it. It's the Yitzhara telling you not to do it. Mashenka by Mechawit, there's no Yitzhara, there's no mitzvah to sell your field. Therefore, it's not a good sushtal whatsoever to Rav Huna. Therefore, it's not a good sushtal whatsoever to Rav Huna. Continues the Gemara. Ella Svarahu. So Rav Huna, we have to decide is a Svara. Agab, Einsei, Gama Umakna. Since he's forced, he's going with Umakna. Very important Rashbam. Ella, Rav Huna, Misvara Didei Kamar. He's saying his own Svara Didei, not a Svara like we wanted to say earlier. We suggested not, a Svara from Metaltalin. He wants to say his own Svara. The Mitoich Yisurim, since he's being inflicted with pain, Gomar Beliboy, he goes ahead and concludes and decides, Umakna, Hoyel V'ikatarti. There's two things, and this is important. One, Yisurim, and the second one, crucial, Umatan Mo'is, Mafsid Midi. It has to be that what? That he's given money, and he's not mafsid anything. So you're selling your field. There's Yisurim. Now, if the guy's telling you, give it to me as a matana, and you give him Yisurim, we said Tuluya V'yoyev, Rav Huna would agree, since there was no money and you lost, the guy took your field away, he forced you to give as a present, you're not going to Makna. You don't decide to give it to him. Masha Enkin over here, where in fact you are A, in pain, and B, you're getting money, so what are you losing? You're going to be a hardhead? Therefore, going to Makna. The key is that you are giving money. That's the key. You are going ahead and giving money. Continue the Gemara. Moisiv el Svarhu Agamain say Gomer Magda. Moisiv Rav Yehuda. Get Hamausa B'Yisrael Kasha. A get Hamausa, you force a guy to give a get. A get, you force a guy to give a get. If it's a Jew doing the forcing, you're going to see the Rambam in this Gemara. If it's a Jew doing the forcing, then Kasha. If the goyim are forcing it, then it's puzzle. Right? Even if he says what, right, Sani, it's puzzle. It's possible to have a case where it's good, whereas when where they're hitting him, this is what we saw in the Rambam, right? Of course, the Rambam got it from this Gemara. That one, do it is according to Jewish law, right? Then in that case, it would be good. Fred the Gemara of Amai. Why should it be what? When the goyim go ahead and force, we say it's puzzle. According to Rav Huna, just like you can force a sale, the goy should be able to go ahead and force a divorce. So it's a kasha on Rav Huna. You see from the case that the goy cannot force a divorce, it doesn't work. So therefore, hu adin tuluyo v'zavna ein zvina zvina. That's the kasha on Rav Huna from the goy. And for the Gemara, no, it's different over there. Hasan, by the get of a goy, nami nema aga moinse gomer magash. That's part of the kasha. Okay, that's part of the kasha. Excuse me. So by my Hasan nami gabi aga moinse. Why don't we say garsha? That's the kasha. And for the Gemara, ha'itmar law we learned regarding the kfi of a goy, amra mishashia the v'atoira afilu by v'kichavim kosher. Even if a goy would go ahead and force the get, it's kosher. Again, what's the goy doing? He's not making the get. We have Adi Masira. We have a good get that was written by the best cipher, 12 lines, lishma, everything was mamish, like melchuder ad moed. It's just the goyish court is forcing him to give over that kasha they could get. And you have Adi Masira, Adi Chasim, whatever, Lazar, everything's perfect. Everything's perfect. And he's giving over the get. And of course the goy, Fred Gemara, if the goy is forcing it, you see that kfiyah doesn't help. So why by Tluya V'Zivna doesn't help? That's the Kashan Rav Huna. And for the Gemara, there really should work. Because Tluya V'Zavna Zvina Zvina. And who didn't buy get, if you can go ahead and goy force the get, it really should be a good get. But there's 5 reasons that it shouldn't be a good get. a totally side reason. Says the Gemara, what's the side reason? Amar Mashashia, the Vatayra, Afilu Ovid Kichavim, even a guy who goes ahead and forces the get, kasha. It should be kasha. Umatam oimam shoyvet kechavim pasul. What's the reason we say by a guy it's pasul? Kadesh like the hey kol achas vi achas vayleches v'toil atzma v'yarav kechavim. If a woman is going to want to get divorced, you know what she'll do? She'll go and she'll endear herself to a guy. Eat chanifa. The Rashba brings in snus, right? Umafkas atzma v'yad baila, and she'll go ahead. In other words, this would be an easy way out to get away from her husband. She'll go ahead, get a guy involved, and then he'll feel strong on the husband. So even though it goes ahead, it really does help to avoid doing it, but said it doesn't help. But Mashiach said to avoid that scenario where a woman would go ahead and dare herself to a guy, chas v'shalom, do other averis, to go ahead and get a get from a husband. In order to avoid that, they said it's not good. But be'emes, in the mechanics, it is good. Why? Because tluya v'zava zvina like Rafuna, for who I didn't kfiyah would help by a get. So that, but this is a side point where it doesn't help. Mosiv Rav Hamnuna, we're going to ask a kasha. Rav Hamnuna is going to ask a kasha from yesterday's Gemara, the Mishnah in Gittin, the one that introduces the sugi of Kamsa by Kamsa, Mamish Erev, Tisha B'Av. Lokach Misikrikan. You bought the field from the Sikrikan. Again, Sikrikan is an extortionist. He extorted from a Roman. He went ahead, he went to a Jew, he took away the Jew's field. He sold it to another Jew, and that other Jew, feeling bad, went to the original owner. And now, we saw yesterday, he wants to go ahead and buy. And he said that it's bottled. He said that the sale's bottled, it's not really a good sale. It's not really a good sale. Says the Gemara. Says Rav Nuna from the case of Sikrikin. It says that he goes ahead, he buys from the Sikrikin, and then he goes to the original owner. And the original owner, guys, is scared to take, he makes a kinyan. Even though he made a kinyan, mechach batal. Why? Because the second guy is scared of the Sikrikin. The second guy is scared of the Sikrikin. Now, what do you see? You see that the fact that he's scared of the Sikrikin, that the forced sale is not a sale. That's a kasha of Rav Huna, because Rav Huna says a forced sale is a good sale. So let's ask a kasha from a Mishnah in Gittin on the shita of Rav Huna that tluya v'zavin mecha that zrina zrina. The lochus said mecha batal. Va'amai, why when he buys it from the balabayas? Why is the mekach batal? So good that balabayas is scared of the Sikrikin that took the field away from him, and now he's selling it. But according to Rav Huna, hasanami neima agav oinse gomar. Why don't we say what? The Balasada went ahead and he was going to Baliboy to go ahead umakna to the person who bought it from the Sikrikin. Says Amarav Einachinami. Loishanu that you're kind of from the Sikrikin and you're kind of from the Balabayas, it's Mechach Batal El Amalei Le Chasik Kani. You just told him, okay, go make a kinyan. Aval Bishtar Kana. We saw this yesterday. Aval Bishtar will be kind. In other words, when did we say that Mishnah? When did we say the Memra, the Mishnah, that this, if you go to the owner who had his field extorted by the Sikrikin, and you go ahead and you make a kinyan, it's batal, and therefore what? You don't own the field. That's if the Balabas told you, go make a kinyan. But if he bothered to write up a star, it would be a good kinyan. If you wrote up a star, it would be a good kinyan. Now, 1 second. Didn't we say you need money? In other words, when Rav Huna says din, only where there was money. So l'chayr over here, where's the money? So if you look at Taisvis Geshmak, look at the second Taisvis in the bottom. Vayidmar Allah Amarav Loy Shanu Pemel Rashba. The mashma the Loy Amarav Huna Tulia Vizavim Zvina El Bishtar. Aval Belech Chasavu Kani Loy. The Keegan the Agav Oinse Gomro Makna Mali Hai. What difference is it that that the Mishnah Lechazukuni Rav would say doesn't work and Shtar does work? Why would there be a difference? Once a kinyan is being made, a field is nickness bekesef Shtar b'chazaka, right? So chazaka, why doesn't that work? But Shtar does work. V'oid hiksha the kamar u'moide Shmuel heichad yav zuzei. Shmuel is moide where you gave money. Mashma the Rav Kani I feel loy of zuzei. Mashma that Rav that Shtar alone will make a kinyan without zuzei. V'mai But Taluya v'yav loyavi matana. As we said, Taluya and give us matana is not a matana. In other words, you need, according to Rav Huna, you need to give cash. And now you're giving a teretz and saying, you're cautious from the Greekin, that you see that your forced sale is not a sale. What's the answer? You gave a star. That doesn't help us. You need cash. It does again. You need cash according to him. So a star is Yozav Matan. It doesn't make a difference. So how could that go ahead and say the Mechach would be Kayim? That Rav would say the Mechach would be Kayim. Very important thesis. V'tiritz, right? And what does the Rashba answer? The Bahachi Pligi Rav Shmuel. This is the Machlekes Rav Shmuel, whether a star helps or not. The Kasava Rav, the Lav the Yov Zuze. If not that you gave him money, Lehavi Ovid Star. In other words, when it says you gave him a star, really what are you saying? You gave him cash. Because if you didn't give him cash, you're not writing a star. Why should I write a star? I don't have the field anymore. You want the field anymore. You write a star that I gave the field? Well, that doesn't make anything to me. It must be you gave cash. It must be you gave cash. So therefore, loy shanu that the Sikrikin, by the case of the Sikrikin, that when the original Baal is magnet to you, that you're not kaina, if he told you lei chasik kani, because you didn't give any cash. But if you gave star, and star is megala that you gave cash, then it would be a kinyan. Now it's very good with the shita of Rav Huna. Tluya v'zavna zvina zvina. What about Shmuel that I feel star doesn't help? Shmuel saw the machmas oinus of it star. He'll make a star machmas oinus even without cash. But he would be, therefore, Shmuel's might if you gave cash. Kishmak. So let's read it in the sugya. So again, Tluya v'zavna zvina zvina, only you give cash. Good. We're asking from Sikrikin. What's the cash from Sikrikin? That the second case is it's mekach batal, right? Even though you bought it from the guy, it's batal. I l'chayra isn't zvina. So the Gemara says, so you see that it's not a zvina. And for the Gemara, when it says it's not a zvina, it said leich chasu kani. There was no cash transferred. But moida that Rav says that would be moida. But if there was a cash transfer, then what? Shmuel says that the star, even the star would be written without transfer of cash. Why? Because he's worried about the Sikrikin, and therefore like kaina. But says the Gemara, Shmuel dama af b'shtar nami like kaina mayikol meima. Frag the Gemara kasha that according to Shmuel that star is also not kaina. What are you going to say? I l'chayra according to Rav Huna there should be some type of kinyan. It should work. Says the Gemara, Moida Shmuel heichadi of Zuzi. Shmuel is Moida where you give Zuzi, right? And where you give, and therefore the Kishmak is anything. When do we say that? When do we say that that the Sikrikin is not kind of the person? The second guy that's Tuluya. That's you're scared of the Sikrikin. The Yohiv, and you're giving us matana like Chasegu Kani or Star, where star is not mentioned, there's money there whatsoever. But when you gave money, then the din would be the mekach would be kayim, because the din is like Rav Huna that tluya v'zavin zvina zvina. I think Baruch Hashem we have a very nice spot, paper trail flow of Geshmak Pshat. Now, what about Rav Bibi who said in Rav Nachman, right? He said yesterday that if the Gazlan said en raya, and if the Gazlan had given cash, he has to return it. I l'chayra like Rav Huna zvina. Why is he returning the cash? The field is his. So now you know the answer. He disagrees. Says the Gemara. Rav Bibi the Messiah b'mishmeid Rav Nachman karka ein loy mois yesh loy. You give him money back. Why do you give him money back? I l'chayra the field is his. Ma'yikla meimar says the Gemara. Rav Bibi memra Rav Huna loy svirli. Again, it's basically like he's an Amira. He can argue on him, right? There's no he's an Amira. He can argue on him, and that's what he did. Says the bottom Rashbam. Memrahu shayoyim mishum acherim. He said in the name of others. Mishnah. It's not a brisa. It's not a tanoic statement. The Havi Omalo Rav Bibi Mishmeid and Avshe. If he would have said it himself, Havi Mahada Gemara. The Gemara would have said Gava Karamis. In other words, since Rabbi Bibi said it over in someone else's name, the Gemara is saying Memrahu. He's describing a Memra. If he had said it himself, the Gemara would say Gavra Karamis. Here's Shaila from Rav Huna on Rabbi Bibi. What's the Shaila? He can argue. So he argues. He says Tli v'zona ein zvina zvina. So that's Machloek between the two. Okay, let's get down to bottom line. Amarava, bottom line. Hilchasa, the halacha is Tli v'zavin zvine zvine. It's a good sale. If you force the sale, it's a good sale. Again, you need two components according to Rashbam. One, Yisurim, and two, you're giving over money. One, Yisurim, you're giving over money. That's right. V'lo Maron, that it's a good sale. Ella amid beis, Ella besada stam. If what? If it was a sada stam. In other words, the guy had 10 fields, and he forced them to go ahead and give you a field. So we can say that, you know what? In his mind, he's being magnetic because obviously he's not giving you the best fields. Like there's prospects in baseball, you're not giving the best prospect lahavdil. So over here in Sada, you're not giving the best Sada. Then when you say Sada Stam, in that case, what he'll say that. In that case, he will say that the Zvina is a good sale if it's forced. Sada Zu, if the guy says Sada Zu, this field, I want Dafka this field, then he's not going to Ramakna. This is Rava. Again, we're going to disagree, but this is what Rava says. And Sada Zu also, that's if he doesn't count the money. In other words, the guy says, sell me this field. And he's scared. So he gives him the field, not kind of. He gives him cash. He doesn't count the cash, not kind of. Starts counting the cash. That's a simon that wad gomro matna. Even sadazu, even this particular field, he's giving him the field. And we don't say that only if Wadi couldn't have escaped. In other words, let's say the guy who said could have delayed and said, you know what, come back tomorrow. I'll write it up tomorrow and everything. Right? He couldn't do that. Then we say the sale is Mashenkin over there, where he could have said it and he doesn't say it, is a raya that what the Gomer Makna. So Arut say Mois or Sadazu is he's not selling it. Not Arut say Mois, he's not selling it. If he had no choice but to get out, then he's not selling it. But if any of these three things are missing, either Sada Stam, or he counts the money, or even if it's Sadazu and he's counting the money, and even those cases where it's Sadazu and he's not counting the money, if he had a chance to escape and and delay, and he didn't delay, then Gomer Makna Filu Sadazu and Filu didn't count the money. The halacha is not like Rava, Bekulu the Havi. In all these cases, Sadastan, or he didn't count the money, or he could have escaped. Havi Zvina, it's a good sale. Vafilu b'Sadazu, the Isha Sadazu Damya, because a woman is like a Sadazu. V'aman Nema, Taluya v'Kadish Kedushin. If you go ahead and force a woman physically, you go ahead and hang her, literally hang her from a tree and say, "Marry me." What a romantic date, right? Can you imagine? He'll ask her up. Are you right? Ask him. Yeah, he had a little ring. It's good kedushin. So l'chayra, just like a woman is similar to sadazu, and the fact that she, just like the field comes into your rishus, the woman is giving herself over to you, and therefore, just like a woman, it helps, so it helps by a field. And even though what it's sadazu, because obviously it's not stam a woman, it's this particular woman, so it must be sadazu, must be this particular field. Ma'abrav Ashi disagrees with Maimar. He says, "B'isha vada kedushin le'avi kedushin." He says kedushin is not a kedushin because also shaloikahagen. This person didn't act properly by going in and enforcing the issue. Lefikach asa imay shaloikahagen will go ahead and treat him shaloikahagen. And vafkinu rabban lekedushin meinei and the mimafka the kedushin. The mimafka kedushin. Okay, we had this many times. The Chacham have a koyach of hefker best and hefker, right? That they can take money and they can be mafker it. They could take money and mafker it. So therefore, call the Mekadesh, I'll die to the Rabban Mekadesh, Kadash Moshe be Yisrael. And therefore what? They're mafker the money. And therefore the Kesef Kedushin was Matana, and it wasn't Kesef Kedushin. And therefore what? And therefore, if you force a woman to marry you, it's not going to be a good Kedushin. Another pshat, we said that, okay, says the Gemara Vaita, Teinach, that's very good, the Kiddush Bekaspa, then you could say the Svar of Hefka Bez and Hefka, Kiddush Bebiya Ma'ikal and Meimar. So Amle Ravina Lavashi, that's very good if you Makadish with Kesef, you can say Hefker Bez and Hefker. Or as people say that in Daf Beis in Kedushin, the Rashi there brings in a shita that Kicha Gezerish is the Rabbanon, even though Gezerish is the Raisa, the Kicha is the Rabbanon. So Teinach Kiddush Bekaspa, which would be the Rabbanon, Kiddush Bebiya Ma'ikal and Meimar. In other words, what are you going to do? If you Makadish with Bia, which is the Raisa, what are you going to say? Or if you Mekadesh B'Bia, you can make it this nus. You know what I mean? So it would understand that a woman who is forced into a marriage through Kesef, we can battle the Kedushin, either through the din of Hefker, Bes, and Hefker, or called the Kaddish, called or it's the Rabbanon, therefore they can be battle it. Mashenkin, if it's the Raisa or if it's making this nus, maybe not. Says the Rabbanon. So Amalei, so he told him, Rav Ashi told Ravina, Shavi Rabbanon lebilas bilas nus. He made it in bilas nus. Bottom line is, the psak seems to be that Rav Huna says that Taliv is oven, Zvina. Zvina, it is good, provided, again, with, according to Rashbam, you need Yisurim and Cash. It has to be that he is not being mafsid anything. If he is mafsid, in other words, you're not giving him cash, you're just forcing him, and you want him to give you some matana, so he's losing the field, then Rav Huna is moided at what? Ein Zvina. Zvina, ein matana. Matana is not a matana. Okay, let's just a little more, let's do a little case. Sabi, Tabi, it's the name of a strong armed person. Tabi Tolula Papi. He went ahead and he forced Papi, a Kinra. He hung him up on a tree called Kinra, or he forced him to sell him his kinar, his harp, the Zavin, and he sold it. And he sold it. Now we had earlier in the Masechta Daf Mem the concept of a shtar maidah. A shtar maidah is where you're going into Bezdin and you don't want the sale to go through. You don't want something to happen in Bezdin. It's a get, it's a sale, and you go ahead and have Eidim write up a shtar called a shtar maidah, that anything that's taking place in Bezdin today, you're not masking to. Okay. We saw Rava say earlier, we don't want write a shtar zvina. On Daf Mem on the base, we saw that Rava was of the opinion that you do not go ahead and write a shtar mezah on a sale, because really, when he sold it, he needed the money. The svara is, he needed the money, and that's the reason he sold it, but he really didn't want to sell it. So he wrote a shtar maidah, and then when he got money back together, he'll retract, right? And get it back. So therefore, in order to avoid this possibility, because he really did need the money, and really the sale did go sale, he wasn't forced. He's saying he was forced. He wasn't forced. Right? He wasn't forced. He needed the money, he made the sale, but since it's hard for him to give up his land and he wants it back, so he'll write a shtar maidah, so he'll make a harama, he'll make a trick. When he gets the money together, he'll say, oh, you know what, I never wanted to sell it. So therefore, Rava was of the opinion, you don't write a shtar maidah, a shtar of being maidah, that informing that you were forced on a sale. That's Rava don't say. Obviously, over here, we're going to disagree with that. That's what Rashbam brings in. So Tavi, the strong on person, he forced Papi to go ahead and sell him a tree called he forced him on a kinra to sell him a piece of land, or he forced him to sell him a kinar. And he sold it. Chosim Rav Chana, and he had another aide with him. Amaidah, he wrote on the shtar maidah. In other words, this person Papi was on the ball, and he went ahead and he wrote up a shtar maidah. He wrote a shtar maidah that he's being forced. In addition, Rabbi Bar Rav Chana not only signed the shtar maidah, but he also signed ashkalta. He also signed on the shtar mechira. So there were two eidim on the maidah and two eidim on the shtar ashkalta. One of that aid happened to be on both, and that was Rabbi Bar Chana. So Rav Huna, man dechasim maidah shapechasim, uman dechasim ashkalta shapechasim. They're both good, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Because you're telling me on one hand it's a good maidah, that's mashman that what? The sale wasn't a good sale. On the other hand, you're telling me the sale was a good sale, then the maidah wasn't a good maidah. It's totally counterintuitive. Says the Gemara, manavshach, I maidah lo yashkalta. If the maidah is a good maidah, then you don't have what? A shtar mechira. If you have shkalta, if you have a shtar mechira, lo maidah, you don't have a shtar maidah. So hachikama. This is what Rav Huna meant when he said that you had edim on this and edim on this. He lav maidah. If not for the maidah, man dechasim ashkalta shapechasim. In other words, if not for the maidah, then the one who signed on the dotted line and would be good and it would work because I guess there was money involved also because to leave is ovin, but now it doesn't work because there was a shtar maidah. So it doesn't seem to be a problem that there was an aid on both. He's saying that the shtar of maidah goes ahead and therefore really the sale goes through because the maidah is the sale doesn't go through. The maidah stops the sale. So he goes, if not the maidah, it would be good. And Rav Huna l'taimech to Amar Rav Huna taliya b'zavin zvina. So Tabi, who forced Papi, the reason it's not good because Papi had the foresight to go ahead and have a maidah. Without the maidah, the fact that it was gone ahead and it was forced is not a problem. Again, you have to say there was a money transfer over here, because if not, then you would have a problem. You have to that he went ahead and there was something over here. But again, this clearly disagrees with Rava, who says you would not write a shtar maidah on what? On Rav Huna disagrees that on Mem Aleph on the base, where Rava said you don't write a shtar maidah on what? On money. On a sale. Says the Gemara, Ini, is it really possible that this shtar maidah should be mevatel the other one? That's what you're saying. The shtar maidah takes precedence. Says the Gemara. Ini, is it really so that the shtar maidah can go ahead and take precedence in mevatel shtar mechira? Rav Nachman, ha'edim she'amru amana ha'yidavarenu. Now we spoke about a shtar amana. We met that. Listen, not always is it easy to get a bezdin together, be involved in bezdin. You have a very good chance to make a profit, a sale. So a person has you need money and to buy something, and sometimes it's very hard to get bezdin. So you write a shtar amana. You have a very, very trustworthy guy, and he has money. So you write a shtar saying that he lent you money, and it's there available for you, to get the cash. It's like, the credit card company, they want you at 29, 35%, whatever it is. But this guy's going to give you an interest-free loan. He's a yid. He's not charging you ribbis. And you have the shtar amana. Now, we don't write a shtar amana. It's very dangerous because, again, sometimes the person might be in a really big pickle and he may break it out when there was never a lot of halva taking place. It's like listening to evil by writing it. So the bottom line is that if Adam say that we wrote the shtar amana, hayid varenu is ein amana. They're not believed. It's like kivan shehigid. Since kivan, there's a long rashbam over here. Kivan shehigid shuven echayis magid. Once you have a shtar that says there was a loan that took place, they'd not be able to come back and say it was a shtar amana. Kivan shehigid. Once they said they're edis, shuv ein echayis magid. So they can't go back and say shtar amana. They can't stay and say it's a shtar amana. And he brings in another shot. They make themselves into Roshayim, because again, as I told you, it's also to write a shtar amana, because again, it's live ammunition, right? And the guy might be in a really bad way, may use it. So therefore, they're making themselves Roshayim by signing it. Okay, so therefore, a shtar amana in amana, ma'ida hayid v'reinu, and we say that we signed a shtar, but it was really a shtar ma'ida. Ain't that money did not believe because shuv kimin shehigit shuvenu chayser magid. So l'chayra, how could Rabbi Bar Chana, how could he go ahead? How could he go ahead and say that it was a shtar mechira when he written a maidah? Why does he believe? Why is the maidah mevatel the shtar? Why don't we say the maidah is not believable and the shtar mechira is believable? So a slight point to the sugya. And for the Gemara, hani mil yalpeh. That's how they come back al peh, because kivan shehigid shemein echayz ramagid. Tloyasi al peh u'mor l'shtara. Their al peh, to say it's a shtar maidah, is not going to go ahead and destroy the fact that we have a shtar mechir in front of us. Aval b'shtara, but if we have two conflicting shtaras and he signed, one he said is a maidah, and the other one they said that what is mechira, then in fact the maidah will take precedence. Asi shtara u'mar l'shtara, and it comes along and it'll go ahead and hit that shtar. Okay, wish everyone an easy fast, and then next year we should be Zaycha to Yerushalayim Kodesh to be here all together, learning Torah, bringing Karbonis, right? Brit Sinai, the Ratzin, and this should be the list Tisha B'Av. Should be Zaycha to the Mashiach, the Rabbi Aminu, Binyan Bayis, Rabbi Aminu Ami.